Picking back up on what I was hoping to be a reasonably straightforward merge request to add date filters to the filtered search bar for issues. If I demonstrate is probably the easiest way. So we've got plenty of drop-down based filters. Where you can select from a milestone, or you can select from a label, or an author, etc. But we haven't got any date pickers or any other kind of slightly obscure that we might want custom ones in the future. Initially, I implemented it a bit like our free text search, where you just kind of type it in, but it was a bit too open to errors, etc. Let's see if we've got some notes on here. Maybe not. I was hoping there'd be a screenshot. If you mistyped a date or you didn't guess the date format correctly, it just wasn't a brilliant user experience. So I have managed to get it to display the date picker now. I haven't tried to see what happens if you try and do something silly. Yeah, so something's kind of filtering it somewhere, but mainly we've got this date picker, so we can't go too far wrong. There are a couple of... So the UX reviewers kind of pushed back on a few things. So let me try and get the latest comments. So I think the ideal... So the first thing is it doesn't work if you haven't got a mouse. So when you click, and not that I've even ever tried this before, so let me just see what happens. So I guess I can tab into here, select this, but then I can't get into this box to then start typing a date or to select the calendar control. So might start with that one because it might be a quick win. And somebody has suggested, Simon, I believe, has suggested, where is his comment? This one. Can we pass an input ID prop to trigger the focus on the input? So that would solve the kind of accessibility keyboard issue and just make life a little bit easier. So you can just come in and straight away start typing a date rather than having to do this additional click. So I might try that one first. So can we pass input ID prop and use it to trigger focus? So I'm going to have a look at the GitLab UI docs for the date picker.
Yeah, there's an input ID field.
Doesn't give us any explanation, but hopefully if we look at the source, it might do.
I think I have used it actually to the new time entry form.
So it passes it to GL form input. So form input ID. Interesting. It's not documented there, which probably means it's a Vue Bootstrap prop, not a GitLab UI prop. Yeah, so we don't define it on there. So Vue Bootstrap. What's the component input?
Oh no, I use it.
Ah, interesting. I don't see it defined there either. So, it's just passed to the ID. So why would that cause it to? Why would that cause it to? Well, I'm just going to add it first of all and see if it does anything. So in our date token, it's not that one, it's date picker. So yeah, let's just try input A.
There's also another way it could achieve, but it would require some refactoring. This is just a brain dump.
Go
Like,
on.
what if tokens on the search bar did support placeholder text? And,
Right.
and then we also had support to basically have a date picker without an input box. Just
That's I think what this is kind of leading to, right? So saying yeah, where so
the missing bit from that GIF down there is only the placeholder.
gotcha. Yeah.
Because that would keep us with the same behavior for all the search tokens. Because when you can write, you write it on the search bar itself, not on another input.
So my concern is I just think it's too much work for a minimum viable, if that makes sense. So that doesn't seem to have done anything. So I think a lot of stuff happens here, right? So if I do, what's annoying is as soon as I click out, it just accepts it. But if I put 2311, for example, so that just kind of completely ignored it and used today's date, right?
Yep.
So it's the validation part I was hoping it would handle a bit better. Whereas in here, you could put whatever the hell you want.
Yeah.
And it would, even if you put the placeholder in, it wouldn't do the validation. So I think I was hoping that that's what this would achieve. So yeah, I'm not quite sure why Simon was suggesting adding an input ID might help to. Is it because once we've got the ID, we can then use some code to trigger the focus?
Maybe.
Yeah. So now it's got that on there. We could, I don't know where or how we'd do it, on mounted or.
Yeah, the mounted, because you have the actual view component for the drop down inside the token, right? Like the little box with the text input inside.
Yes and no. I mean that is. There's so many nested components, and I don't know very well what everyone does, because I think GL filtered search tokens then got like GL filtered search segment or something like that within sort of 3 of those, and it's all kind of broken down into lots of rabbit holes essentially.
Yeah. Oh, but then if okay, so I think I know what you mean, like handling something like the mounted or something like that inside the date token view.
Yeah, so either in here or here, we could just, I can't remember if it's a what's it or a what's it, but if in here, I don't know how long, like, would we need to set a timer because we need to wait for it to render. But essentially, we just want to do, I don't know, would be like document dot query selector hash the date picker.
See what you're typing, right?
Sorry. Yeah. God, I really got to figure a better way of doing screen shares. I think OBS is going to be the answer. Yeah, can you see? I know that's wrong, but something like that.
Yeah. Before we waste time on that, you could try to do a console log on the mounted, because I had this issue with the models that basically the model was getting mounted only the first time.
Right. Okay, yeah, I see what you're saying.
I think the issue is that you have to pass a function to mount it. Yeah.
That's what I was talking about when you couldn't see what I was talking about. I don't know if it's worth me. I really need to solve this problem of you only being able to see one thing at a time. If I share my whole screen, it's just gonna absolutely destroy the share, isn't it?
Because it's too big.
Yeah, I got a huge screen, so I don't really know what to do. Mounted. That looks like it will do the job.
Okay.
So I'm going to go back, which you can't see, and try. Is that valid JavaScript? Document.query selector.focus.
Should be.
And I'm also concerned about timings, that the component's mounted before it's rendered, before the DOM's updated, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but even using a timer can be tricky, because you can set it too high or too low, and
yeah, I guess it could keep trying until it exists, but I mean it's just horrible, isn't it?
yeah. And good luck trying to write a spec for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Although we must have something surely to. Okay, well that appears to do nothing. Let me just see if document.query select the thing, or was it the date picker? The date picker. Focus. Obviously not a.
Undefined. Is it undefined the function or the return value? No, you would have complained if the function didn't exist. Yeah. Yeah, focus should be the one.
Is it because my mouse is sort of?
Could you try to inspect that? Because I think the focus is actually on the input inside of that. I'm afraid that the ID is getting set to the outer container.
I need to dock this again for you to be able to see it, don't I? No, the input's getting the what's it?
Oh, okay.
But yeah, that should do the trick. I'm just wondering whether. So let me put the cursor somewhere else. That's not what I wanted to do.
I wonder if that works, triggering a click instead of.
No, see, when you move to the Chrome Dev Tools, it takes focus away, so we can't actually see what's focused. So it might be working.
You can actually force the focus state from the dev tools.
That doesn't really help us, though, does it?
No, because that only setting the CSS attribute.
So yeah, it could be a timing thing at the moment. I don't know whether the whole. How do we do the next tick thing? Is that what I want to do, or do I just want to introduce an arbitrary? Was it timeout or? See if we do it anywhere else.
That's
we do. It's interesting. That's an actual method.
What's the display field option?
For the form input, or
no, for the date picker, I'm looking at the documentation. Display field, it's a Boolean value.
It'd be really helpful if we had descriptions for these props, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So.
Oh, I can try to see on Bootstrap view.
That's weird.
Oh, there's not.
It's almost like it's not used.
That would. Oh, well, maybe it's getting past directory with the bind or something like that.
Yeah, but then in here, although maybe just because it's documented doesn't mean it's not used. So maybe I should just check the source. Where is the source? You'd think it would be linked very obviously.
Oh, the source up on the Oh. I tried to search for display field and it didn't find anything.
Interesting. I don't think that's used. I think it's just idle. I managed to get this to not appear, this box, and just the date picker. But I think you maybe reminded me that some people will want to type it in. That's going to be a lot quicker than paging through.
Yeah, removing the input box will work only if we can solve the issue of not having a placeholder or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think how could we set the
Just because we're doing stuff for the first time, I'm really, really tempted to try and put a sort of like, no, let's not go over the top. Like introducing this feature is nice, and just because we've got a few simple, like a few limitations and a few UX improvements that we'd like to see, shouldn't block it. I was just having a look, but again, I realised you couldn't see. Just want to have a look to try and find. We've definitely used set timeout elsewhere.
Oh boy, I'm looking at the source code for the filtered search on GitLab UI.
Yeah, it's it really does require quite intricate knowledge of.
Yep. Oh, placeholder.
Set timeout. It's just a JavaScript function, isn't it? It's not a what's it?
Yeah, set timeout is a JavaScript function.
Add it, put a second just to see if that. Because once you get into there, then you should be able to tab across, I guess, to the date picker if you really wanted to. Although I imagine trying to use a date picker with the keyboard is awesome. That works. Slow and a hacky solution, so I have to think about. But I think having like a reciprocal loop would be okay, maybe. That sort of goes until it finds it, and then you can tab across to this. Can't seem to then I feel like that's not my problem that I can't I can't it's like it's trying to. I suppose like an existing problem if you can't tab from there down to actually use the so that kind of solves that issue. So then what we're saying is the next, like I'm tempted to try and explore the option of putting like a placeholder here and removing the box.
But, yeah, I was looking into that actually.
So, okay, so you're still looking at Visual Studio at the moment. So, I've shared somewhere the code, I think, to get rid of the box. Again, this is really weird, really weird.
There's a slot on the token called view, but I don't really understand when that's shown.
Just try if I can get back to the state that the state where it's not showing. Annoyingly, it still shows a box. I don't know how to stop it showing a box altogether, but it doesn't show the input.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I need to get rid of my focus. And the date picker isn't automatically expanding. I don't know if that's because of Yeah, I had real issues trying to pass the suggestion slot, and I was playing with the view slot, etc. But couldn't get that. But I guess I may have learned a bit since getting it as far as I have, how some of that other stuff could work. Oh, come on. Okay, so the date picker isn't appearing now. Just see if there's any errors in the console. No, it don't appear to be. Sure, before that automatically.
Oh, are you passing target null
Passing
to the date GL date picker?
Yeah, so let me show you the code. I shared this somewhere, maybe on Discord, so maybe I'm just missing something that I'm being stupid. I think I just had to create like a span and then set the target. I thought that's all I did, but did I shared that, didn't I, somewhere? Where was it? Right. Yeah, target some class. Don't know, drop. Target prop. And insert a div or span with that class just above the GL date picker. So what else did I change? Let me remove this input ID. I can't imagine that's causing any.
I cloned your branch locally because I'm doing some
Awesome
trial and error.
I don't even want to share that screen anymore. Right, so I don't know why it's not showing the date picker anymore. Don't know if I stripped something out inadvertently, because my MR, I found I had loads of crap in there that I could just get rid of that wasn't really doing anything. So it's possible that I got rid of.
Oh. Okay, so view is not working.
Just going to comment out my mounted block altogether. I don't think that'll be it, but
Just a search token segment.
Damn it. Just gonna look back at this. Min date target selector element that triggers the date picker. See, that's the other really bizarre thing. Maybe it wasn't target. I think it was.
Search input attributes.
Pass null to trigger on input. That's so confusing. So confusing. Okay, that's annoying. I'm sure that's how I got it to work. Look at the actual component again. Maybe I need to put start open to true.
Damn it. I saw that the GL filtered search token, GL filtered search token segment
Yeah.
has the input. So the text box where you type, and it's passing some search input attributes, but GL filtered search token is not passing those attributes down to the segment.
Is it not a slot that we could?
No, I don't see it because there's options.
So this is the main guts of it, right? The filtered search token, which breaks it down into the segments. So you've got the title,
Yeah.
the operator,
Yeah.
and then the actual kind of data, the keyword or value or whatever you want to call it.
Exactly.
So this is the sort of drop down, so to speak.
Yes.
Then we've got this, which I guess is the display value.
Yes. I tried to template the view, and that's the value that's shown on the segment after you submitted a value. So like if you have a customer ID, you convert that to the customer name.
Yeah, but I'm sure you can do. I thought I saw something that suggested you could do something for like whilst it's in action. There you go. So this is in its inactive state, whereas this, I guess, is when it's this is what's really confused. So that this slot is actually inside of this slot.
So that's view dash active. No, view dash token. Because I already tried this slot called simply view, and
so view token is if I try and just completely blow it up for a minute. I'm going to get rid of my target stuff because that just wasn't working.
Okay, so basically the difference between view token and view is just how it is rendered. because view is on the little gray box background, and view token is without the box outside, basically.
Yeah, I think the way I was reading it, but I may have completely misunderstood, was one is the like while you're like in progress,
Yeah, I hope so, but
and one is the okay, I've selected a value now.
that would have been perfect. But select
Yes.
a value.
Yeah. Okay, so that's
And if you use view token, it's just adding the gray box outside hello, basically.
so. Let's just look back at this again. So, no, view token is what I'm using.
Yeah.
So if I add a view, so view, this is where I'm getting really confused. So, but can I? Yeah, I can put. I'm trying to work out how I pass this
Oh, I think I
because
know.
it's a nested. Can I just pass it in? Yeah, I guess I
I
can.
think I know what it's doing. Basically, the view token is the container,
Yeah.
and the view is inside of the view token. So basically, view token is the gray background, and the view is actually the value inside of that.
So this is why, yeah, I just.
Yeah, if you change the view token to a div with a red background, for example.
So let's.
Oh, but I don't
Well,
think.
let's. I'm just going to do that for now
Yeah.
and see what that does. This is why I really should just try and tap up someone that built the filtered search components that will know all of this and can help us improve the documentation. And I mean, I'm not sure. Is it really that weird? Our use case, like, is everything else always going to be drop downs, or are there going to be other scenarios where maybe someone wants a color picker, or some other kind of.
Yeah, well, we will. I think for now it never had the need, but now we have. So
So it looks like the hello's going through, but the buy isn't doing anything.
yes, because the view token, which is the outside container, is a span which doesn't contain any children.
Okay, so if I remove that, so we're replacing the entire of this, which means it isn't. Yeah, gotcha. Okay. So we actually need to implement this ourselves kind of inside of here.
Yeah, and not only that, because if you override the view token slot, you also have to handle all the click event on that, because I tried and it doesn't work. For example, when you click on the token, it doesn't show you the editor.
Yeah, albeit that you don't get that anyway. If you mean what I think you mean, you don't. I've broken it now anyway, but you don't get that. You can't. My current implementation before we started messing around with it, you couldn't edit it anyway. You had to clear it and then go back in.
Okay.
So So yeah, I'm tempted to have just a tiny little poke. So if we want to go down this route, then we need, so inside of here, take token. So we don't want suggestions at all, really.
Yeah, the thing is that I'm afraid that even if we do that, the view token slot is only rendered after the user submitted a value.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So we'd likely need to make an upstream change to.
I wonder if we could try to give it a shot, having a look at the GitLab UI, trying to pass down the input the placeholder value on the input and see if that works. I should have a GitLab UI repo locally.
So why would that not work? So try to mount. So my theory is what I've tried to do here is just mount the date picker straight into the. Oh, but you're saying this doesn't appear until after you've selected a.
Yeah. We do have a community fork of the GitLab UI, right?
Yes, I believe so. What about can we put like a default value in somehow? Like
Default value. Oh, on the token, so that the token is always shown.
yeah, pretty much. Just like if this dot value. That sort of thing. Terrible idea. Just showing you, I don't think I was sharing my boxy screen again. So just this sort of idea. Although you're not supposed to mutate, although we're already doing it here anyway. So it should be this dot value.
Value.data.
Yeah, so probably this dot value equals data. I don't know if the whole thing would be null or if just the data would be null.
I'm not sure.
Take that. Actually, yeah, operators should always be. I think operators should always be present at this point because they have to have selected the operator
Yeah.
in order to get this far. So yeah, if that's null, then set that. It's probably a terrible idea. But... No, it's just ignoring that completely.
Yeah, right. I think it's not the token is how did is it
Yeah, but
maybe
it's ignoring like what I've implemented in terms of if you look at
because you set the data, but
yeah, but forget about the data. Forget about this.
yeah.
I'm mounting the date picker control in the
Oh,
view token slot. So I shouldn't be seeing the one. Whatever I type in there should be vanishing, and
yeah.
I should be seeing something else, if that makes sense. So I don't get why it's kind of ignoring. Maybe it only recognizes like spans or divs or text or I don't know.
I really don't know that. And I'm waiting for Yarn to finish install all the dependencies. Oh, it just finished. So I'm trying to see if that works. It could be something doable. Let's cross our fingers.
I think I probably know. I think I've probably just broken it so that it's not rendering because hello isn't even rendering anymore. So if I take the date picker out for a minute. I'm interested to see view.
Oh,
You got something nice.
yes.
Oh, share your screen.
Because we can do this. I mean, it's not the perfect solution, but it can help us with the placeholder at least. How do we share my screen? Come on, where is it? Share my screen. Okay.
Sorry, I'm better not share it in case it's not ready yet.
No,
Oh, good, yeah, awesome.
all good. And basically now we have a placeholder. Don't mind that it's always visible, but we can get a placeholder in here before we type something.
Right.
So this could be something doable. So if we had a placeholder like this.
Yeah, but that's just a placeholder for the entire search bar, isn't it? It's not one for the.
No. It's because I did the very basic stuff of changing the filter search token segment and pass the placeholder value on here. So basically every segment has that.
Oh, okay.
But we could
show me the demo again for me.
yeah, absolutely. Basically, this is
right. So it's just saying search now. But then it's saying this is a placeholder before you've selected which.
yeah, but only because right here we have 1, 2, and 3 segments. And now I set the placeholder on every segment. We can add it only to the last one, which is the value that we want. So basically, we have search. This would be search again, or what it is right now that I don't remember. Then we get author. We get nothing in here,
Gotcha.
and we get the placeholder in here.
Okay, and we could just pass it through for the specific.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. But that required an upstream change to add a, to what was it, to add a prop or just to pass a prop through or something?
I think we should. Let me try that because we have this vbind thingy. So if I go to the filter search token,
Yeah.
this is the complete token, and this is the part. Okay, if I do search input attributes, how do I pass the placeholder? Computed. Oh, come on. Computed. Input attributes. And that's input search input attributes. Let me do this. That's passing a JSON, so I think that should work. I hope so.
So what are you trying to do there?
Yes, it works. Basically, now okay, it's a computed prop, so we can computed value, so we can expose this as a prop. Basically, on the segment for the value,
Yeah.
I am passing down these search input attributes that was already there. It basically the search token segment has these search input attributes, but it's not getting passed down from the filtered search token, because it was like this before.
Gotcha.
Now I added this and simply return the placeholder value. But if we expose this one as a prop of the filtered search token, then you can set it in here, the date token.
Right. So you're passing the placeholder. So we pass. Yeah, the placeholder through to GL search token.
Yeah.
And then that just passes all of its props through to what was the next component?
To not all the props, only the input attributes props get passed down to the GL filtered search token segment. So basically, we have 3 segments for each token.
Yeah.
The first, the operator, and the actual value.
Yeah.
This is the value token, and we pass down the search input attributes.
Cool.
And that's setting the placeholder for the input on that token.
Yeah. So search input attributes. So it's input attributes.
Yeah, because
And input attributes is what?
it's a prop on the search token segment. Let me find it.
I kind of need a picture showing like this. You pass the placeholder to the search token. That then passes search input attributes to the search token segment, which then passes the placeholder to, or something like that.
Yeah, because this does a vbind, so basically expands all the attributes and sets the props of the input element.
Yeah.
So this is expanding to the placeholder prop of the input element, and it's passing and it's showing on the search bar.
So that is actually an input, which is really interesting.
Yeah, that's the input, because on the search bar you can type.
Yeah. Yeah, but it just means that we should be able to. So, this is segment. So, how does it? Just trying to think how the slot was working. So, the slot is actually on token. So, it gets rid of this entirely. So, we'd have to re-architect all of this.
Yeah, I don't know if it's really worth it. I mean, if we use the placeholder to show the user what the format of the date should be.
Yeah. Well, I'm more thinking about trying to mount, like to use this input box as the calendar input box, if that would like to bind it directly. Because at the moment we're basically rendering another input box.
Yeah.
If we can do that. So has this got an ID? Hasn't, has it?
It hasn't. We will be able to pass the ID down with search input attributes.
I can't see who's just joined. Hello.
Hello.
So, are you here to save the day?
Not perhaps, probably, we'll see, but just here for context and see what y'all are working on.
So we're trying to tackle, probably best not sharing that screen, but different one. But I think we're about out of time now anyway. So let's have a look on this screen. So I add in the ability to filter on the close date and the created date on the issue search. I've currently broken it, so I might just revert my changes. But it's basically the user experience that we're really struggling with, where you've got kind of like drop downs within drop downs within drop downs and kind of weird. And we're just trying to understand how all of the GitLab UI components work and how customizable they are. And I'd say, how far have we got, Mark? You've managed to make a change to GitLab UI to allow us to pass a placeholder, which is just a tiny, tiny, tiny little help. So at least if this comes in with something like this, then they know that they can type a date in that format in here. But what it doesn't help, let me just revert my change because I don't think we've done anything that I'm bothered about losing.
Yeah, I still think that even if we make that change, we would also require another change to be able to show a date picker without an input.
But that's kind of my point, is that you just discovered that we have actually got an input.
Yeah.
But it's how can we bind the date picker to that input, which I don't think we can at the moment because that input hasn't got an ID. But if we allowed you to pass an ID up, then that might solve that issue.
Yeah, well, the change that I would be making to the GitLab UI would leave us set the input of that ID as well, because like we are setting the placeholder, we have access to all the input props.
Nice. And hopefully that wouldn't break anything. So yeah, this is the current experience. It brings up this kind of drop down, which is a bit pointless, really. But it serves the purpose of rendering the input box that has the placeholder, so we know what the format is of the day, and also rendering the calendar control. So yeah, it's trying to get rid of this these kind of additional bits. And if we could render this directly in here, I think everyone would be super happy.
Can you bind the date picker to any input?
Yes, I think so. That's what this is what I was oh no, would it be so select an element that triggers the date picker? So I don't think it's that. DOM node to render the calendar into. Don't think it's that.
Input ID.
Yeah, no, that's what we were looking at a minute ago, and I can't remember now.
Oh yeah, it's setting.
Yeah, I think that's setting the ID, not binding it to. I think we want element that triggers.
Go to the examples on the left on the custom trigger. This one doesn't even have
an input.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did it. This is what I used, I think, to build my first.
Yeah.
The one without the box, but I can't even get that working anymore. Let me just have a look if. How do I get? I need the story. I think. Yeah, this is what I was trying to do earlier and just couldn't get it to work. It was working like a few weeks ago, but not when I retried to create it. But I'm not really that fussed about recreating that behavior if we can't get. So let me just think about it. So if we had it, so as soon as you select that, the date picker appears. This box doesn't appear.
Yeah.
But there's a placeholder in here, so you can type into here.
Yeah.
That'd be a reasonable experience, right?
And it would also solve the problem that you have to change the focus down to the input, the drop down, and then go back to the search bar.
Yeah. So actually then you can already, let me just check, you can already do this. There's nothing stopping you doing it. Yeah, you can already do that.
Yeah.
So so if we had a placeholder and get rid of this box, get the date picker to automatically appear, that would go a reasonable way to solving it. But my sort of counter argument would be if instead we could just mount this in here, that would kind of resolve that, or would that just not really work?
I don't know, because overriding the view token, basically the container it has some stuff built into it that I don't know if it's worth it.
Right. Okay.
Let's put it that way. You still have to catch up from last week, so we have the time to make the change to GitLab UI.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll raise an MR for GitLab UI to be able to pass a placeholder into the search. Let me switch back to. Yes, we'll add a placeholder prop.
I would expose the input props for that. We could even, well, let's do what we need. We could expose the props for the value search token segment.
Okay, so the search token segment for this one, for the data one.
Yeah.
And you're suggesting just having a single prop to be able to pass an object with as many whatever props you want, and then we do a vbind essentially.
Oh no, we don't need to do the vbind. Basically, we have to pass down the, let's say we call this new prop data search token segment input attributes.
Yeah.
It's a mouthful, but and we pass that to this GL filter search token segment on the input search attributes prop that's already there.
Yeah.
And that's already doing the vbind.
So we pass it into here, and then this is passing it somewhere else. Is kind of what you're saying, right?
Yeah. If you go to the ETL, yes, that one.
So that is so it's already got that prop.
Yeah.
And
that's doing the vbind.
Right. Okay. So that would allow us to set the placeholder for this, the ID for this, and anything else we wanted to do. Gotcha. And by being able to set the placeholder, we solve one problem. By being able to set the ID, we can possibly use that to trigger and do other things. Cool. Yeah, that sounds like a nice initial step.
Yep.
And I can't see, like you say, this a bit blocked on this for a number of reasons. So it's worth making that change, as long as writing tests isn't. We might get away without needing to write any tests.
Yeah, I don't think we need, I have to look at the code, but maybe adding a simple test like passing down the placeholder and making sure that the input it's getting the value is enough.
Yeah, or maybe it might be sufficient to do a story or modify one of the existing stories to set the placeholder, etc.
Yeah,
I guess we wouldn't pick up on if it got broken though. So yeah, awesome, cool. Do you want to, I don't know what the easiest thing to do is, whether you push a new branch to the community fork with what you were hacking around with there, or if you just want to do a diff and paste it in Discord so I can create a branch in an MR or
Oh, well, the change is really...
I know it wasn't a lot, but maybe just paste the diff in Discord.
Yeah, absolutely.
That'd be a good start. Awesome. And then I'll continue going down the rabbit hole at some point and outreaching the scope that I intended to try and stick to.
Yes.
Any thoughts, Paul?
I guess just a question of my question would be, what information you would use to trigger a conditional to display a date, I guess. Like, I'm curious about how that, like the logic of that would work. Like once you click the date tag, I guess I'm wondering like what information would be used to display the date as like a potential input text, I guess. It's kind of what I'm wondering, but again, don't have full context, but
yeah. So the way that, if I'm understanding correctly, what's really confusing is GitLab UI is, I think, supposed to be something that can be used anywhere, but in reality is only used in GitLab. So there's a bunch of components in GitLab UI, but for example, if you look at the label, this component is in GitLab, not in GitLab UI. And that's the same as how I've implemented the date, this component. I've actually built it in GitLab rather than GitLab UI. But I'm not sure at what point like the decision would be made to say, oh, actually, I suspect maybe the answer is that because all of these, like the labels, well, this is data that's been pulled out of GitLab. So it only makes sense in the context of GitLab, whereas a date picker is not pulling any data from anywhere, so it could be useful everywhere. So maybe this is an instance of one that would make sense to the component could actually live within GitLab UI eventually. But maybe as a first iteration, it's worth building it in GitLab because it's a bit harder to iterate by making changes in GitLab UI, waiting for them to be merged, then adding them into GitLab. But yeah, like at the moment, that's about the size of it, I think.
Right.
But being able to just pass those additional, having this configurability to be able to pass it goes up a few levels. So the search input attributes, being able to pass them into the filtered search token would give us kind of a lot more control and power over the input that's being rendered. And, you know, if we want to put a placeholder in there, if we want to set the ID, if we want to add classes to it, whatever we want to do, we'll be able to do. So I think that's maybe what we've come out of today's session with, that we're going to raise that kind of interim MR. Makes sense. Yeah. Awesome. On that note, I think it's about time to call it. Marco, have you, I think, oh no, I thought you might have been, eating. Did that sort of echo your thoughts? Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's interesting. That's the first time I had actually tried to verbalize the thought process of why this component and this component are in GitLab, and why maybe this component we might actually move into GitLab UI.
Yeah.
I'm not sure you caught that bit, did you?
Sure.
Yeah. Initially having it in GitLab makes it easier, I think, for me to build and work on and test, etc. But at a later stage, we could definitely move it. Awesome. Thanks for dialing in, Paul. Thanks for your help as always, Marco. And I will look at your diff and hopefully raise another MR to add to my stack.
Well, if you want, I can open that this afternoon.
We'll get it moving and see what happens.
Yeah. Okay.
Have a great day. Catch you later.
Yeah. Thank you.